having another Premier yarn haul, and I've got some new yarns in here I wanted to review for you to help you make a more informed decision when making purchases online. And a reminder, or if you're new to my channel, I am a Premier Yarn affiliate, but I would never recommend something to you that I don't enjoy. I want you to be able to trust anything that I recommend, and I'm going to give you my honest opinions about these. So let's get started. Before I go into detail, I want to show you what I am reviewing in case you're interested, you're not interested. If you want to just skip to, let me show you. So I've got the Premier Karma Ombre, the beautiful beet color. I've got a ribbon yarn here. So this is kind of like your home decor bag style yarn. I have the value yarn, the Premier Basics in the chunky. So this is going to be the category 5. I have reviewed the Premier Basics the category 4. And I reviewed that around the time of my Winter's Embrace Christmas blanket. And then I have a new color of, I love this color. This is the mushroom of the anti-pilling bamboo chunky. Now I did already review this. This is the yarn I used for my Manhattan cardigan. It is gorgeous and luxurious, but I wanted to try a light color instead of that gorgeous teal blue. So we'll look a little bit more closely at this. All right, so first I'm going to look at the Basics Chunky. This is not a new yarn for Premier. However, very recently, I want to say 2 weeks ago, they released an expanded color selection, and I was so glad because I wanted to make something that's it's actually in the works already with tones of brown, and they did not have a good selection at the time. So when it came out, it was like they heard my wish, and I got some of these new brown tones, and they have several more. I'll put a card up in the up somewhere. All right, so this is $2.99 regular price. So it's a good value yarn like the other Basics in the line. And with regard to softness, it feels like a nice value yarn. So it feels very similar to the Basics category 4 yarn. And I have the Basics in the category 3. Actually, let me go get that. Okay, so here's the Basics worsted, which I've already reviewed. And then let me move some of these out of the way. The Basics DK. So this will be your category 3, category 4, and category 5. And they all feel very similar. These, the feel, here I've worked up some stitches. This is the DK weight. It feels one step up from Red Heart Super Saver, but at a same very similar price point. None of them, I've used all of them now, they do not split, not easily anyway. And then frogging is really easy, and I don't find them to be difficult to untangle if they by chance become tangled for, any number of reasons. And I didn't find any of my skeins having knots, none of that. So I've been really happy with all of the Basics thus far. It works up smoothly. The color looks really even and rich. And if you're working with something, even like a blanket, but something that you want your chunky yarn for, a sweater, scarves and hats, this would be a great yarn. It has a nice spring to it also. It's 100% acrylic, and the recommended, I don't like to say recommended. If you don't know this, the hook size on your label is the size that was used to achieve the gauge that it's showing. So using a 9mm hook, that worked out to be 9 rows and 8 single crochet stitches. Now when I worked with this, I used a 7 and an 8 hook, and it was perfectly fine. And then for knitting people who prefer to knit or who knit and crochet both, you'll get your 12 rows by using your size 13 needles and 10 stitches. So it's a thicker yarn, but it's not like crazy bulky size. Okay, very happy with this thus far. Let's go on to the next yarn. All right, so next I am looking at the Premier, the ribbon yarn. And I'll check out the price on this. I want to say it's $5.99 or $6.99 a skein, and it's a big 7 ounces. Now what I would compare this to, I have this bag out here for a reason. I'm getting my little navy bits on here. So this is my Brickle bag. It's a really popular bag pattern that I've designed. And this I made with the Lion Brand Lazy Days Thick and Quick, which is kind of a tubing yarn. So I'm going to compare it to that. It's got that same kind of stockinette stitch as, most of you will know this one, Bernat Maker. Now this is a thinner yarn, but if you look closely, you can see that these are both stockinette. Maker is calling itself a bulky category 5, and then here this one's calling itself a category 6. Now it used a 10mm hook. Now it's going to depend what you want to make with this. So if you're going to do bags, probably going to use something like a 7 or an 8, which that's what I'm going to test it with right now for you. Now, how to open this. The color range is reasonable. It's not, I don't know that you necessarily need a lot of colors in this yarn, considering what you're using it for. I'm going to start with my 8mm and see how that does. The fiber on this is cotton polyester, and on Bernat Maker it's cotton and nylon, with a little variance in the percentage of cotton to the other fiber. And here it's a similar ratio. All right, so let's see how we do. I would probably use this for a bag, or the wall baskets, handbag, tote bag, basket would be great for this. Yeah, nice, tight. It's not going to be too stretchy. Chain up a little more. And then with this being flat, it's going to give a little bit of a different effect when it's finished than the rounder tubing yarn. So if I made that handbag with this yarn, it would look different than if I made it. Oh gosh, that's really pretty. Than if I made it with the rounder yarn. You can see how these stitches kind of, see how they round a little bit, the curve. Doing it with this flat ribbon yarn would look different. Still be beautiful, but it would be a different kind of a look, which is a fun idea. This feels nice and smooth, soft. I really love yarns with cotton. They're always my favorite, cotton or bamboo. It's holding, I can feel the stiffness. Of course, I'm using a kind of a small hook for the size of yarn that it is. Yeah, this is nice. Really good stitch definition. I don't know how well you can see it with this dark color. So this navy is not a midnight navy. It's kind of a marine navy color. Yeah, I like it. So as with all projects, your yarn is going to impact the outcome. This is great. All right, so let's go into the Karma yarn. That's the one I've been really excited to try. All right, so the Karma yarn is an interesting blend. It's acrylic, cotton, and nylon. Nylon always makes the yarn very soft. This yarn is, to me, identical to the Colorama Halo yarn, which I used for my rosemary wrap. I actually gave that to my cousin recently, so I don't have it to show you, but I have lots of photos of it that I will put up in the up on the screen for you. It feels so similar. Now that yarn is a true gradient yarn. This is more of a marble all over look. I think ombre is kind of a misnomer for this, but you know, no one asked me when they were naming this, so it's just my opinion. All right, so this calls for, or it's showing, let's just say it's showing 6.5 millimeter. I have my 7 right here, so I'm going to try it with that. If you look closely, now it's meant to look like a halo, so this would be for your shawls, your scarves, your hats, maybe a blanket if you like this kind of a look for a blanket. And this is the, I think, beet red color. It's gorgeous. And their colors I find really true to what you see on the screen when you're shopping with them. I haven't found any of the colors not to look accurate to what's on the screen, which I really appreciate when shopping online. All right, look at my stitches. It has a little bounce to it. Now, it's not stretchy. The Caron Cakes Latte Cakes yarn has quite a bit of nylon, and it's a slippery yarn, so it can be a little tricky to work with. Plus, with all the feathering in it, it's hard to see the stitches. So I always refer to that yarn as more of an experienced crocheter or knitter yarn, because you're just going to make yourself crazy trying to find your stitches with all the little fuzzy things sticking out. However, with the nylon, it is so soft with a gorgeous drape. This yarn is, I can tell already, it's not drapey. Now, if I use a bigger hook, will it drape? Yes, it will. But I'd really have to go up quite a bit to get a drape, and of course your stitch is going to matter. So when I designed the, I have a Latte Cakes pattern, my pumpkin blanket wrap, I designed those stitches to make it easy to see and to have drape. Now the Colorama Halo yarn has a little more drape to it, but I also used stitches and a hook to make it drape. So let me pull this out. I mean, it's still so pretty. And try it with my 8 millimeter. All right, 8 millimeter. Now, frogging it just now, it frogged perfectly fine. Nothing tangled up. All right, so let's do some more. I'm sure I have a 9 millimeter around somewhere if I need to get that out. Something like this, I probably would not do single crochet if I wanted some drape. I would do some chain spaces, bigger stitches, and of course a big hook. All right. I'm going to do half double crochet now. Yeah, this feels better. That 6.5 millimeter, that's, I mean, that's crazy talk to use that for this yarn. I guess it depends what you're making. But okay, now it's feeling like it's moving a little bit more and leaning and draping. This would be so pretty for a hat. And of course, it's always nice to have a matching scarf to go with it. What would you use this for? I like it. This color is just mesmerizing to me. It's kind of a raspberry puree look, but yeah, I've eaten enough beets. I know a beet when I see one, beet juice and all of that, but it's very similar to raspberry. Yeah, that's nice. So soft. Now, speaking of soft, the piece de resistance is next, and that is the Bamboo Chunky yarn. All right, here's my beloved Bamboo Chunky yarn. This is the one that I reviewed already, and I used it for the Manhattan cardigan. I'll put a picture up. Now available for my experienced crocheters. That pattern is not for beginners. Something I want to point out about this yarn, if I did not say it already, because I discovered it after working with it, This particular yarn has several colors woven in, and it really gives it a lot of depth. It might be hard to see on screen, and it's so subtle, but it kind of hides pet hair. So I've got these giant ragdoll cats with all their long white hair everywhere, and when I'm working with this, I really don't see the pet hair. I mean, it's kind of a magic trick. I don't know how they did that. All right, so this is a color that has had me so captivated online. I just had to get some. It was on sale through the end of August. Their bamboo yarns were. It's no longer on sale, but they run sales all the time. It's still a great price for what it is. This is more of a luxury yarn. It's $4.99 per skein, regular price. And for a chunky yarn of this kind of quality and softness and the sheen that gives it such an elegant look, I think that's a great price. Comparing it to this, which is also a chunky, and see, this doesn't even feel nice now that I'm touching this, but I want to be objective. I'm not going to use this for the same thing I would use this for. This at just $2 more. I mean, this feels like a $10 ball of yarn. It's just so luxurious feeling, and that is that soft bamboo fiber. Now, it's still acrylic, so it's going to be warm, but you get the softness and the sheen that bamboo has. And also, bamboo is very light. It's a grass, right? It's just this airy, light feeling yarn, so it's not going to feel as heavy as 100% acrylic. I'm a super fan of this yarn, and I recommended it to people, and I've had the same reaction from them. So this, I just, 20 out of 10. This is a lovely yarn. Right, so this color in particular, this is that neutral, pale off-white, that it's not yellow, it's not warm, it's just a nice neutral linen parchment color, and it's called Mushroom. They have the more ivory if you like the kind of warmer ivory tone. It comes in white, and they have quite a few colors. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to expand this color line, but I've been so pleased with this, and they're doing a great job coming out with new colors and new yarns all the time. So if you're not following Premier, you might want to get on that train, because our in-store options have been greatly limited. I haven't been to Michael's yet since they've expanded their yarn offerings, just because I haven't needed to go out for yarn, but I will stop in there soon. I want to see what's going on with, how they're redoing the store layout. Let me know if you've been to yours in the past, 6 weeks or so, and what it's looking like, if the yarn selection is better. Mine was just... The 3 that are near me have been just dreadful. The shelves are almost always empty, and what they do have, it's generally big bins of the Caron cakes, which is fine, but it's those are so limiting. We need options for all the different things we like to make, right? All right, let me know if you're going to try any of these yarns. I will have an affiliate link down below, and with the names of each of these, again, as a reminder. And if their yarn is not on sale, they run a lot of sales. So if you sign up, you will get the alerts when they run sales. And I will see you in the next video.